Yo, whatever happened to that dream that God put in us? You know, before the world told you what you wanted to be and what you needed to do to be successful.
Cornbread.
Before you saw somebody else do it and said, you know what, I need money, I'ma do that. Before you knew what money was. And what did you want to be? And why'd you let it go? Come on.
If you're getting sick of running and tired of the hustling, go for it. I tell them go for it. You got a dream that you're chasing. Well, I think you can make it. You should go for it. I tell them go for it. Follow the dream and leave the game, please. Don't be ashamed. Anyone can change. Oh, there's a better way. There's a better way, shawty. There's a better way. Yeah, there's a better way.
Just dedicated to the hustler that's sick of hustling. Promote nobody in his circle, tell him give it up then. Get a new group that wanna see you shoot for the stars and 2 moons, let them follow what you do. Hustling wasn't the plan, I know. Mother was struggling, Pops wasn't the man, I know. But even though your father was not home.
Again, thank you, Your Honor. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here today. It's a privilege and an honor to stand before you guys, to know the opportunities that you guys have ahead of you. As Judge Lloyd just spoke about, the future has no limits for you guys, and today I stand up here to testify to you at the life that I've been able to accomplish, things that I've been able to accomplish over the last 10 years. As Judge Lloyd mentioned, I marched in here 10 years ago in fatigue through the Oakland County Sheriff's Department boot camp. You might ask me, well, why would I have to come in under Oakland County? Because at that time I was on probation in 4 different cities, 8 misdemeanors and a felony between the ages of 17 and 19. And I walked in here, you know, I had gotten into a drunk driving accident. I almost lost my life, and I thank God that I actually made it through, because most of us know people that we ran with on the streets and that we used with and that we hung with aren't here today. So I just want to acknowledge you guys, that you guys literally are blessed to be able to sit here, because there were so many people that weren't able to make it into Judge Lloyd's courtroom. And as I walked in this courtroom, I had made a decision several months previous that I was going to change my life. I had realized that, you know, I grew up in a decent home. I was an honor roll student. But like a lot of us at a young age, we got distracted. We got tempted. We got pulled off track, and a lot of things began to, cause us to want to fit in, to want to do things other people were doing, to want to be a part of other crowds. Because come on, how many of us when we were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old thought that we'd be using, that we'd be getting high, that we'd be giving our bodies away, that we'd be doing the things that all of a sudden as we got older that we would be doing? But guess what? We got to a point and realized that we were almost in bondage and we were stuck, and we didn't know how to get out. And at 19 years old, I stand here today, 10 years later, I'm 29 years old. And I remember walking in this courtroom, and it's amazing how, you talked about divine intervention. This is a divine intervention for you guys, because I remember when I first caught the case here, it was a drunk driving. I mean, I was still drunk 2 days later. Guys could still smell the alcohol on me. I blew a .21. Smashed my mom's car onto 75. Already on probation, was on a restricted license. But see, I was a rebel without a cause. I was heading towards death, because that thing had me gripped. It had me in bondage, and it was leading me down the path of destruction and ultimately almost death. And I remember waking up in that jail saying, God, if you allow me to get out of this one, if you allow me, I mean, I should have been held with a major, bond, or I just knew that I was in trouble because of my past record. This was my second drunk driving. By 19, second drunk driving, 3 minor in possession, sold ecstasy to an undercover cop out in Oakland County. Minor in possessions, drunken disorderlies. I was hit. I was a mess. I wasn't a bad person, but drugs and alcohol got a hold of me, and it caused destruction in my life. And I remember crying out to the Lord. I said, Lord, if you allow me to get out of here, I will change my life and I will serve you. And the judge said, you know what? You're released without bond. I'm like, wow. What did I do? I was serious. He honored my request, and I was going to honor my word. And that day, I jumped on a bus, because I burnt all my bridges. I didn't have nobody to come down here and get me. How many of us burnt bridges, you know, up until starting to get our life? Pretty much all of us, right? I said, I'm serious about this thing. And I remember being intoxicated. The state police picked me up. I don't even know where I was. I think I was on the precinct over by Nevada. And I remember my mom saying, you ain't coming home. You ain't coming home. You just wrecked my car. You just did this and that. I thought you were serious about turning things around. You're done. And that broke her heart to see her son having to go through what I went through. But it was because of my mom's prayers and her believing in me that allowed her to cut that thing off for me to have to make the decision, because people can't make us want to get ourselves together. It's like the Honorable Judge just said, we have to make a choice and a decision to change our lives. It has to be us. Nobody can make us choose to change our lives. My mom said, you need to check yourself into the Grace Centers of Hope, which is the Pontiac Rescue Mission up on East Huron. 19 years old. I said, I'm going. Why? Because I had seen the path of destruction. And I realized that if I didn't get my life together, it was about to be over. I was either going to prison or my life was going to be taken. And I realized I had enough sense at 19. I said, you know what? This isn't for me. And I went and checked myself into that treatment center. And I stayed there for 6 months, and that's where I built my relationship with the Lord. And I realized that there was more to life than living with drugs and with alcohol and allowing chains and bondage and things to set me back. When I was in high school, you know, I didn't make it. I didn't graduate. I dropped out as an honor student. My grandfather was an attorney in Ypsilanti. He said, listen, son, if you graduate and you go to college, I will give you my law firm. But he said there's only one condition. You cannot get a felony. So what did I do? I went out and got a felony. I thought I had tossed my future out the window. But I realized that God had a different plan for me. After coming out of the drug treatment program, I still had to deal with my violation of probation out in Oakland County. And I think his name was Judge Stephen something. He was I went before the worst judge in Oakland County. I mean, he literally stood up in the courtroom. My mom and my grandma were crying in the background. I had already made a choice to change, but you still gotta, you know, even though you change, we still have consequences to our actions, okay? Even years later, I lost my license for 5 years, just got it back 5 years ago, okay? But I didn't let that hold me down, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I went before Judge Andrews, Judge Stephen Andrews. He is no joke. I'll tell you right now, he stood up and he looked at me, yelling at me, you ain't serious. You're going to jail. Don't cry for him. To my mom and my grandma, don't cry for him. He's nothing but a troublemaker. You're going to jail. 6 months, Oakland County. I'm like, ah. And then my court-appointed attorney leaned over to me and he says that they got a boot camp program. It's an 8-week boot camp program, and only 1 out of 2 people make it through. It's one of the hardest boot camp programs in the country. I said, I'm willing to do whatever. I checked myself into that boot camp program. And again, I had already made a decision to change, but I still had to go through the consequences of my actions. Went through this boot camp program. It was one of the toughest things that I ever experienced. I'm talking waking up at 3 in the morning, crawling in the mud. I mean, it was crazy. And they beat you down. Why? So that they could build you back up. And I was only 19 years old. I'm in there with grown men, black, white, Asian, Caucasian. It don't matter, because the enemy that comes against us is no respecter of person. He ain't a respecter of black. He ain't a respecter of white. He ain't a respecter of anything. He's out to steal, kill, and destroy. And he'll do it at all costs. And he don't care what hood you're from, what city you're from. It don't matter. It don't matter where you're from. And see, it's another deception that we think, oh, he can't relate to me. Well, guess what? People in the suburbs are just as messed up as people in the city. It don't matter. People out in the rich parts of Oakland County or wherever, just as messed up. Why? Because we're all human. We're no different. Our skin color may be different. Our background may be different. But you know what? We all face a lot of the same things, okay? So I march in here to Judge Lloyd's courtroom, and this is how it first went down. And this was God's divine intervention for me. I was initially, I don't even know if you know this, Judge Lloyd, there was a different judge that I was supposed to go through. And then all of a sudden they said, your case has been postponed because you're no longer going in front of that judge. We're going to have you go in front of this judge. Right? And here I am. I'm walking through, you can testify, they marched me in here. I'm talking like, I couldn't even look around. I had to stand position of attention in my boot camp gear. And they told me when to speak. They told me what to do. Why? Because if I violated that 8-week program, I'm going back to Oakland County for 6 months. But if I graduated in 8 weeks, they were allowing me to graduate and move on. And I seen people leave that program left and right. Why? Because they couldn't handle it. They cracked, they gave up. Because, I mean, they literally break you down. And because of my commitment to that thing, they actually graduated me Distinguished Honor Grad, where I was overseeing 2 different platoons of 50 prisoners, older than me, younger than me, as the top graduate, because I made a decision that I was going to change. That I was going to change. And I'm going to talk to you guys about in a minute that nothing or nobody can stop you in what you want to accomplish in life. Nothing but you. But you. But you. So I walked through those same doors, and it's so funny because when I walked in the other day, I looked at this brother right here, and this was my court-appointed attorney. You can't forget this guy. He's an amazing guy. And I remember he was telling me, he's like, probation department wants to put you in jail. 90 days. 90 days. Because they looked at my record and they said, like Judge Lloyd, he has no future, he has no hope. But Judge Lloyd said, I see something in you. And I believe it was she seen the Lord in me that I truly was making a decision to change my life. And she says, you know what? I ain't putting you in jail. I'm going to give you a chance. And I'm going to give you an opportunity. And I want you guys right now to literally stand to your feet and thank Judge Lloyd for giving you guys the opportunity that you have. Because just like it was a divine intervention for me to walk through those doors, it was a divine intervention for every one of you guys to walk through those doors. To be sitting here today, you know what? I didn't graduate high school. And that was one of the things that really, bothered me for a long time because I felt like I missed out. But guess what? When I graduated from that boot camp program and I could stand there before the people that cared about me and loved me, it gave me literally that feeling of what I had missed graduating high school. And I know each one of you guys feel that today because it's not to be taken lightly. It's not to be taken lightly. And I just personally want to congratulate you guys because I'm sure there's people that started out in this program with you that aren't here today. Just as the judge said, 2 people, whether it was from this class or another, didn't make it. They didn't make it. They're still deceived. They're still bound. Thinking, I'm not ready yet. Well, guess what? Tomorrow may not come. Today may be your last sniff. It may be your last This is for real. This ain't no joke. This is my brother Sean. Not my real brother, but he's my brother.
How y'all doing today?
We met at 12 years old, and all the dirt that I did, he was by my side. Right by my side. 17 years, we've been like this. And because of my life changing, God was able to use me to help lead him down a path. And now we're both walking in success and victory.
Amen.
But I want to let you guys know something that statistics say. Based on the statistics that Judge Lloyd just talked about, based on the statistics of life, when it comes to drugs and alcohol, some of you, based on statistics, are not going to make it. Some of you guys are going to go back on the streets. Some of you guys, I'm not saying you are, but statistics say some of you are going to drink. Some of you are going to go back to using drugs. Some of you are going to go back to selling drugs. But I'm here to speak over you today that not one of you guys are going to be a statistic.
Right.
Amen.
You guys are going to go back to the streets. Why? Because I was a statistic. They said that I was going to be a statistic. But as Judge Lloyd said, that there's certain things that if you apply, can you pass this out, or can these be passed out? The main topic that I want to go over real quick, and I know there's more to this graduation, so I want to not take all your time, but 5 keys to sustainable success. 5 keys to sustainable success in your life. Because I'm telling you, the fast life is a deception. It's a deception. It's something that when we were younger, we thought was cool. We wanted to be like that dude down on the block. We wanted to be like that sister down on the street looking all fly and cute. We wanted to be like the guy riding on 22s, right? We wanted what we saw, but guess what? It's not reality. I was sucked in. I was sucked in. And it almost took my life, like I'm sure it almost took some of yours. And there's so many people that me and Sean grew up with that are no longer here today. We just lost a brother that went to school with us just a few months ago of a drug overdose. I've seen the class president of our high school overdosed on heroin at 21 years old. He wanted to be the president. He was already connected with the governor of Michigan in high school. He had a bright future, but guess what? He was deceived. Tomorrow is not promised. Even when we're not using, tomorrow is not promised. So we need to be able to put a plan in place that will allow us to have success. And again, as I mentioned before, the enemy that's out to get us is no respecter of persons. And you are in a battle. It's a daily battle. It's a daily choice. But I can tell you that it can be overcome. I am no longer tempted by drugs and alcohol. I'm no longer tempted to go live the fast life. I'm no longer tempted to want to go back and use. In the beginning, yes, it was hard. But guess what? They say when you resist the devil, he will flee. Resist your devil in your life, whether it was crack, whether it was alcohol, whether it was whatever it was, resist it and it will flee. 5 keys to sustainable success. Number 1, these are things that I've been able to apply in my life that 10 years later have caused me to be successful in overcoming the obstacles of life. Surround yourself with winners. You are who you hang with. If you literally think that you can leave this drug court, go back to being on the block, hanging with your homies, hanging with people that aren't for you, because guess what? When I was locked up, nobody was coming to get me out. Not even Sean. I mean, he loved me, but he wasn't coming to get me out. Why? Because Sean was caught up in Sean. You realize who your real friends are, because the real friends that care about you and love you are going to get behind you and say, I'm here to help you. I believe in you. Don't go to that party. Don't do this. Don't do that. But I promise you, because I thought one day that, you know what, I'm not going to use drugs and alcohol. I'm just going to go to the club and sell them. And I think that worked for one day. But the second day, what was I doing? Down in shots, popping pills, doing all that stuff. Why? Because it's a deception. You cannot go back. And the Lord had to pull me away from all my people for several years to literally almost isolate me to get me together. Because I was on, even though it was a short period of time, 3 or 4 years, I didn't know who I was anymore. So guess what? I had to find out who Justin is. And in that, I had to separate myself from the temptations, the persons, the places, and the things that caused me to fall, that caused me to use again, to cause me to keep going backwards. And you may need to do that. I won't even say you may. You need to do that. You need to do that. Why? Because at the end of the day, it's all about yourself. What good are you? At the time, I had a 1-year-old daughter. I was no good to her. All messed up on drugs and alcohol. No good. 10 years later, I'm married with 3 kids, and I've got 1 on the way right now. And you know what? My kids have never seen me high or drunk. They've never seen their daddy the way that I used to be. And you know what? Now I've got a whole new opportunity to raise up a whole new generation of people that will not have to do what I had to go through. Guess what? The buck stops here. The curse has been broken. And my kids will be able to walk in a manner that I wasn't able to walk. Why? Because my dad was an alcoholic. I was raised in it. And a lot of times when you're raised in it, it's what you know. It's who you become. But guess what? You may not have had the opportunity to do all the things that you wanted at a young age. You may not have had a relationship with your mom and your dad, which is so vital for a young child to have. That's why most of us went the way we did, because we didn't have the guidance. We didn't have our mom and dad pouring into us the way we needed to. But guess what? You may not have had it. I may not have had it. But guess what? You can do that for your kids. You can be what you didn't have for your own kids. Number 2 is you got to have accountability partners. You got to literally surround yourself with champions. You got to surround yourself with people that are there for you, that have your back, that are going to help you not make those decisions, not make those mistakes. You know what accountability is? Hey, Sean, man, I'm feeling tempted right now. I want to go out and use. I want to go out and do this thing. And you know what Sean's job is? To encourage me and hold me accountable not to go back out. Because I can assure you guys this, there's 2 things waiting for you if you go back out. Number 1 is prison. and number 2 is the grave. And I can assure you, if you think you can go back out and it won't happen, I've seen too many people fall, so have you. Why are you any different? Why am I any different? I know that's what's waiting for me. I used to, and I'm not glorifying it, I used to sniff coke, pop ecstasy pills, take acid, do all at the same time. I was crazy. I fear my life to put another line or a pill in my body. Why? Because it could be my last. I've seen too many people die. You may say, well, that's not my drug of choice, it's only weed. Well, guess what? Keep smoking weed and watch what eventually happens. It'll eventually grow into something different, and it's not worth it. None of it. Have those people around your life. Number 3, you got to create a life vision and set goals for your life, and I've created some definitions of what some of those things are. I never knew what a vision was. I thought vision was something that you just seen with your natural eyes. Really, it's not. Vision is picturing something in your life that you can become, that you want to become. Guess what? When we were all young, we had dreams. We dreamed as kids. But guess what happens? We get older, and all these things going on begin to strip us away. And we start getting caught up in the cares of this world, and this life begins to drag us down, and we get to a place of no hope, no dreams, no vision. I'm here to tell you, you can be whatever you want to be. Today, I own about 4 businesses. I'm in ministry. I'm a motivational speaker. God has blessed my life abundantly, and I, most of the time, think I'm living the dream. Why? Because when I walked in that door, I never knew what it would be like 10 years later, and I didn't even care. I just wanted to change. I just wanted to change. Give me one more chance, God. Give me another opportunity to change my life. And I can assure you right now that the best is yet to come, and the sky is the limit. The sky is the limit. I don't care what anybody has spoken to you. I don't care what you guys have gone through. You can do whatever you want to do, but you got to create a plan. My challenge to you is create a plan when you leave here immediately. Immediately. You don't want to waste any time. Really sit down, write some goals. Come up with it don't even matter how old you are. My dad's 52 years old, and again, it has nothing to do with me, but the Lord caused me to help him get his life together. He's got 8 drunk drivings. 52 years old, just getting his life together, and guess what? I said, Dad, God has a plan for you. It don't matter how many years you've wasted of your life. Tomorrow is gone, or yesterday is gone, but tomorrow is future. You can do anything. 52. I don't care to the oldest person in here or the youngest. Create a vision. Set some goals. Number 4, work hard. This ain't going to come easy. This ain't no fast food. You know, I just give it to me. I don't want to put no work in. No. I've gone through 10 years of ups and downs, struggles, jobs, walking, taking the bus for 5 years, walking with my little girl. Now that I had got full custody, that was another thing. When she was 4 years old, I got full custody of her because of my life change. Walking with her hand in hand to church a mile, right? You got to work hard. You got to be dedicated. You can't allow the circumstances and the things around you to hold you down. Nothing can stand before you that can cause you or hinder you to become what you want. You know, don't let it be an excuse. I can't find a job. Go to McDonald's and start there, because I just started Subway. $6 an hour. You don't just become that entrepreneur. You got to start somewhere, and you got to build on it. It's a plan. And I'm telling you, I was tempted by that quick money, because it was easy to go out one night and make a couple grand. But guess what? That was dirty money, and it did nothing for me. So I had to create a plan and build it up. Stay dedicated. Stay dedicated to yourself. Stay dedicated to your plan. Stay dedicated to the things that you learn, because guess what? Judge Lloyd ain't going to be watching you tomorrow when you leave here. You're not going to have the probation. I don't know. Do they still have probation when they leave here? Your probation officer ain't going to be calling you up and telling you to come in. It's time to be responsible. It's time to take action for yourself. It's easy not to drop dirty when you know you got to drop. Right? You know she ain't playing. Right? Well, guess what? Your real test starts when you walk out of this place today. How serious are you? How serious are you? It doesn't matter how serious you say you are to Judge Lloyd. It don't matter how serious you say you are to me, or your mom, or your spouse, or your kids. How serious are you to you? Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters, because really you're no good for nothing if you're all jacked up and messed up on drugs and alcohol. You got to remain committed to your plan. Create your vision, create your goals, and remain committed to that thing. How do you know that one of you guys aren't the next president, the next CEO of a large corporation, the next minister, the next whatever? You guys could come up with the next witty invention that changes business. And number 5 is you can never quit. Never quit. Even if, and I pray that this doesn't happen, even if you use again, you got to get back up. Dust it off and keep moving forward. Why? Because the devil will tell you, oh, you done screwed up. Might as well go back. You might as well go back. Because after I had gotten it together, I went out one time and I used again. And you know what? I said, this is not me anymore. I could feel it. I could feel it. It wasn't me anymore. And I repented and I turned and I kept going. Because I realized that was no longer me. I was a new person. I was a new person. And I pray that you don't have to ever use again. But if you do, you get back up. You get back up and you keep moving and you stay accountable. I want to read these 3 things. Success. The favorable or prosperous termination of attempts or endeavors. The attainment of wealth, position, honors, achievement, triumph, or the like. A successful performance or achievement. And I'll say today is your first day of success, because guess what? You guys have achieved a successful performance today. You've achieved drug court graduation, and I want to give yourselves a hand right now. Number 2, vision, the act or power of anticipating that which will or may come to be. Vision is see yourself as CEO. See yourself as drug-free. See yourself as a good parent. See yourself as a good husband or wife. Whatever you desire, see it and go after it. You first have to see it to go after it. Prophetic vision, the vision of an entrepreneur, an experience in which a personage, thing, or event appears vividly or credibly to the mind. Although not actually present, something seen or a vivid, imaginative conception or anticipation, visions of wealth and glory. Vision yourself as what you want to be, not who you are today. Watch the words that you speak, because words are powerful. Speak it as you want, not as it is. Get up and say, you know, I'm CEO.
Whatever happened to that dream that God put in us? You know, before the world told you what you wanted to be and what you needed to do to be successful.
Cornbread.
Before you saw somebody else do it and said, you know what, I need money, I'ma do that. Before you knew what money was. And what did you want to be? And why'd you let it go? Come on.
If you're getting sick of running and tired of the